Hi! Today we're going to be making a card using the new Close to My Heart July and August mix-ins, paper and cardstock. We're also going to be using some watercolor paint and some stamping. Alright, let's get to it. The paper pack that we're using, as I said, is the mix-ins. We're going to be using the toffee colored textured paper, background and textured paper, sorry, with the white dots. We're also going to be using the smoothie check that's on the back. We're going to be using the sapphire zip strip that comes on one of the edges of the paper. We're also going to be using the peach cardstock, both the light side and the dark side. So this is the light, that's the dark. And we're going to be using the dark side of the sapphire cardstock. So this side, the dark side. The base of our card is the cards, bases, and envelopes that you can purchase through Close to My Heart. They make a wonderful base for any card. And they come like this, already with the score line on it. You want to fold on the side that has the bump. So this is the bump. We're going to fold it this way. And this card is a horizontal card. The first thing we need to do, because we're going to be doing some watercoloring, is we need to stamp that and get it painted. So the stamp set that I used is this retired stamp set called Vegetable Garden. It has some really, really nice artwork on it, and the one that we're going to use is the radishes. We're going to be stamping on white daisy cardstock using the intense black ink. This is a good one to use when you're going to be using watercolor because the water will not affect the stamp. So load up your stamp with ink, and when you're doing this, you're going to want to check just to make sure that you're getting the coverage that you want. That looks good. And you're going to want to allow the ink some time to settle into the paper. Give it a good push. A little wiggle doesn't hurt. And there you have it. Close up our ink pad. And now for the watercoloring. Close to My Heart has a set of watercolor paints that you can purchase from the website, as well as a watercolor brush. We have 3 different sizes of watercolor brushes. Today I'm going to be using the small round watercolor brush. They're great. You just screw off the bottom, and this whole handle is full of water, and then your brush automatically loads with water as you use it. So you don't have to have an extra bowl of water nearby. You can just use the water that's in the brush, and it cleans itself up pretty easily as it goes too. So these are radishes. So as you know, the bottom of a radish and the root tends to be white. So we're going to start by using the white, which is down here. So just squeeze your brush. You get a little drop of water in there. Give it a little swoosh, and you can go and paint right on here. So I'm going to do a little bit of the bottom of the radish and then down the root. Grab a little more paint, and I'm going to just do the bottom and down the root. You won't really be able to see what I'm doing because of course it's white paint, but it will come in to play later on, you'll see. Okay, now what I do, you can just squeeze off on the side here on the little wells that come on the lid of your watercolor. Just squeeze out some water, and that will clean the paint out of your brush. Or you can just have a little rag, give it a little squeeze, a little wipe, and you're good to go to the next color. You won't have to worry about it. Okay, for the radishes, I'm going to start making the top a little bit darker. So this is the red I'm going to be using. So I'm going to go one step darker to this color. Give a little squeeze. Get a little bit of paint out there. And then just very lightly, I'm going to put a little bit of dark. And because these are round vegetables, if you kind of paint in an arcing motion like this, you will help your eye visualize that they're three-dimensional. So I'm going to clean a little squeeze of the water onto my towel, and then I'm going to pick up some of this red here. So a little bit of water, pick up some red, and now I'm going to actually move over here, and I'm going to transfer some of that paint because I don't necessarily want the straight red color. I'll show you what it looks like here. It's very vibrant, and I want dirty radishes because radishes grow in the dirt. So I'm actually going to add some of this color to it as well. Sort of an orangey red. So you just pick up some, put it in there, and that will start changing the color of your red. So you get a dirtier looking radish. It's not quite as vibrant as the straight red. So it's nice that there's the little wells here to do that mixing in. Okay, so now we're going to, again, go in an arcing motion. We're going to paint in the radishes all the way side to side, but don't go all the way down into the white. Stop short of covering over the white. And go to this one. It's really a quick process. It doesn't take a lot of time, but it has a nice effect. And the last one, and there we go. Now I'm going to squeeze water, clean off my brush. So now my brush is just wet. Okay, so I'm going to take my just wet brush and I'm going to go over the whole radish from top to bottom again, and that helps to blend the colors so that you don't have any harsh lines. The dark goes into the, and when you get down to the white, you can kind of clean your brush off a bit and just use the water that's in the brush to blend the red into the white. And if you're a little more careful than me, you'll try to stay within the painted lines. Alright, so there we go. Now we're going to move to the leaves. And I really like this color here, but I don't like to use it straight. So I'm going to mix up some of the paint here, and I'm going to transfer it off to the side. I'll show you what it looks like straight. It's not really a natural radish leaf kind of color. So I'm moving some of that paint over to this well over here, and I'm going to add, just clean off my brush a bit on my rag, I'm going to add some of this dark yellow to it. So put a little water in, mix it around, pick up some of the pigment and add it in. I'm going to add a little more. Okay, now we'll check the color. That's looking a little nicer. But I think we're going to add one more color, and that is a tiny little touch of this dark, sort of taupey brown. that is right next to the green. We don't need much because dark colors, you can always go you can always go darker, but it's hard to take them out. So there we go. That looks a little bit more like a natural radish leaf color. So when you first pick up the paint from the paint tray, you will have the strongest amount of pigment. As you paint, water from the brush comes out. So what you want to do is you want to start in dark areas where the leaves are going to be darker first. And as you go, you will notice that it becomes paler and paler in color, which is very helpful because some of the leaves are going to be darker and some are going to be lighter, and you're going to get a range of color as you move down the leaf as well. So if you have leaves that you want to be lighter, then you just keep carrying on without adding more pigment to your brush. And there's really not a lot of technique involved with the painting. As you can see, I'm just kind of just using it as you would a marker. So let's continue on getting all the green on. This leaf will have a little bit of a pale color. And these nice little tiny leaves at the bottom and the stems are always a little paler. So that's great. Okay, now, if there's any areas that you want to darken up, by all means go back, add a little bit more pigment. The sky's the limit, okay? The other thing is, the edges of leaves and vegetation tend to get a little bit browned at the edges. You know, they've been out baking in the hot sun. So I've just picked up some of this medium brown color, and I'm just going to touch it just to the tips of some of the leaves. Not a lot, not everywhere, just here and there. Okay, that's it. Now I'm going to squeeze off my brush, and again I'm going to go back with just water in my brush, and I'm going to try and just pull that color from the edge of the leaf in towards the leaf, and that will soften those hard edges that we just made with the dark color, and the leaves will look more natural. Just blend it in. Great. And the other thing we can do is we can take a tiny bit of that brown and we can add a little bit to the ends of our roots, just like that. Wipe off your brush, clean it off a bit, and again, just using the water, just pull a little bit of that up the root. There. Perfect. Excellent. Now we can let that just dry for a couple minutes. We'll move our watercolor out of the way. We're done with that. And while that's doing some drying, we'll just set it aside. We're going to continue on with our card base. All right. The first paper that we're adding is this toffee colored dot. We're going to put some adhesive on the back, and we're going to attach it leaving white around the edge. This piece was cut at 5 1/4 by 1 5/8. And then we're going to add the sapphire zip strip with this diamond pattern. And this, again, was cut at 5 1/4. The zip strip is already 1/2 inch wide. And then this smoothie check, we're going to add some adhesive to that. And that was 5 1/4 by 1 5/8. And if I did the math right, we should have a decent amount of white space all around the outside of the card. Now, if you notice on this, I have "You are the sunshine in my pocket." And the "You are the" in my pocket is actually from this stamp, which is from a stamp of the month that was called Sunny Thoughts. And so I discovered that I had an older Close to My Heart stamp set that had all these definitions on it. It's called State of Mind. And one of the definitions was sunshine. So I replaced this sunshine with the definition, because why not? You can manipulate your stamps to suit your purposes. So I've stamped this on the peach colored cardstock that comes in the Mix and Cardstock pack. And this piece is, let me see, just under 3 inches square. And the reason I did that was because I wanted to use my die cuts to cut a circle, because if you're anything like me, cutting a circle can sometimes be difficult. So we have these thin cuts dies, the basic circles pack, and the largest circle just fits perfectly around this stamp. So you just attach it with a little bit of any kind of washi tape that you don't particularly like. Attach it on there to hold it in place, and then you're going to run it through your die cutting machine. A little bit of arm power there. And there you go, a circle, easily cut. Much easier than me trying to get it precisely how it should be. Now, because I have it tucked in behind the card, I need it longer than the circle. So I'm actually going to trim it just above the dotted line there, and just below the dotted line. And I'm replacing this sunshine with our definition of sunshine. So let's stamp this up. We're also using the peach cardstock for this too, but we're using the lighter side of the peach cardstock. And again, the intense black ink. This peach cardstock was cut 2 1/4 by 1 1/2. Make sure. It's especially good to check when you're using a stamp that has small small words. It's good to check that you've got them inked up enough. And then just line it up with your acrylic block. Makes it so easy because you can see right through it. And just give it a good stamp. And there you have that. You can wash that later. That's all of our stamping done now. And then I attached that stamped sentiment onto this sapphire cardstock, and this is using the darker side. There's a lighter side and a darker side. So this is the darker side of the sapphire, and that is cut to 2 3/8 by 1 5/8. And you just center that on there. And I used some foam to give it some dimension and lift it up so we can tuck the other pieces underneath. I'm using the leftovers from the center of a shaker card acetate and circle. Might as well use it. And we'll just place that on there. A bit of adhesive on the bottom of our circle. Some adhesive on the top of our circle. Tuck it under the edge. And there you have it. And our watercolor should be dry now. And we can just fussy cut that out. I'm using the non-stick microtip scissors. These are great. You can cut through adhesive and they are super sharp and they are excellent for fussy cutting. I love fussy cutting. I know I'm one of those weird people that would almost rather cut things other than circles with my scissors than anything else. One of the best ways to do fussy cutting, as you can see, I am holding my scissors pretty much still and I'm moving the paper. That always seems to work out the best. As you get around, you can remove some excess and continue on. I also like to leave white space. It just looks nicer, I find, more pleasing to the eye to leave white space around your stamped images. And you just continue all the way to the end. Just like that. Quick and easy. And then attach some adhesive to the back. And what I did, this was my theory when I was making this, is this looks like the dirt that the radishes are growing in. So I tried to have the radishes down on the brown and the leaves above, because then it sort of looked like they were still planted. It gave the illusion. And then we're just going to embellish with a few little julep glitter gems. A big one and a little one and maybe another little one up here. And that is that. A card made, watercolored, stamped, incorporating 2 different stamps, new stamps, old stamps. There's no point in getting rid of your old stamps. You can find ways to use them and incorporate them. And new mix-in paper pack in these beautiful colors. And I'm just so thankful that you joined me today. And I hope you have a wonderful week. Bye!